The rapper asked the woman how she got in his garage and told her to stay away from him and get out. Over to Kentucky, where a new African American Heritage Trail was unveiled this week. The trail highlights more than 50 sites. And as the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial continues, yesterday a juror was dismissed over conflicting responses. The court wanted to know where he lived, New York or New Jersey. That black juror was replaced with a white alternative. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Super producer Naira Sanders is also in the building with me this morning. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Listen, first things first, I'd like to thank each and every one of you who listen in each and every day, who engage with the chat each and every day, whether you're listening in your car or on one of the streaming platforms. We appreciate you here at WBOK. So let me tell you about an update regarding what I had labeled as the privatization of recreation, because that's what it felt like to me. And you know, I take it seriously when things feel like they are a detriment to the community, especially to children. And if I feel like there is a need for further discussion, I'm gonna make it a topic. And we made it a topic here at WBOK, particularly because of this flyer that was going around. And if you missed the flyer, I'm certain that it's somewhere out there. But the flyer at the very top stated that recreation is back, and talked about this proposal to have recreational services at the University of New Orleans. But that was the culmination, I would say, of quite a few articles that had been out there regarding NARDC and its inability to be good stewards of its facilities. There were some questions about its funding, and I learned so much about a lot of the things fiscally NARD is responsible for while I attended this meeting on yesterday. So shout out to all of our community folk who availed themselves to be at the meeting in person, but because I could not, I was sent a Zoom link so that I could attend virtually this meeting. And I appreciated the opportunity to sit in on the meeting because, again, I learned a lot of things about the budget as it relates to NORD and all of its responsibilities. I also want to thank the folk who are pushing this agenda. It's an agenda, but I mean pushing this idea to expand recreational services to UNO, because as my senator has taught me, you always take the meeting, so it's always good when opposing sides can come to the table and hear each other out and make certain that everybody is heard and solutions are cultivated from those sessions. And so I believe that there was some really good information shared at the meeting. I believe that there were some really good solution-based conversations happening on the call. I was on the call, but in the meeting. And so, shout out to the folk who I know were in the room. There were a number of people who may have been in the room that I don't know, but I know Noonie Man was there, Belden Baptiste. I know Miss Alicia Plummer was there. She's the person who actually sent me the link. So and I was able to attend. I know a lot of the folk who I'm boots on the ground in this work were on the call. Shout out to y'all call him Ron, but to the motherland for also being on the call. I know JD Carrera was on the call. And so, like I said, it's always good when people who have opposing viewpoints about an issue can come together and share their perspective. Shout out to Councilman Freddie King for being on the call as well. And like I said, I had some very strong opinions about it. Opinions I absolutely stand on. Opinions I will absolutely repeat, should there ever come a need to repeat them. But as it stands now, that there are some solutions being addressed and put out there to ensure that the children who depend on Nordsee, who the volunteers who help uplift the work that is being done by Nordsee, there are solutions around all of those entities to ensure that there's equity in the process, and that's all we've ever asked for. And so, again, I'll bring you updates as necessary. And if there's any regression, I'll bring you that update as well. But hopefully, we are going to continue to progress in the right direction. And so, we shouldn't need to have a backwards conversation. If everybody meant what they said on the call, then we're moving in the right direction. So, shout out to community for coming together to stand up for the children of this community to ensure that whatever happens, children are at the forefront of that conversation as it relates to Nordsee. So that's the mini update there. There's also a story, kind of going from North to this story, and it's been one that's been puzzling to me. We've talked about it here at WBOK, but I think it's something, especially for women, for couples, for families who are trying to expand their families. Pregnancy is one of those things that, if you've never been pregnant, if you've never tried to bring life into this world, if you've tried and now you have rainbow babies out there, pregnancy is one of those experiences where you are, in my opinion, between the realm of life and death. And people don't know how serious, unless you've experienced it, how serious it is to conceive for most people, to hold a baby in a healthy manner to full term. All of these things are extremely hard. Any little thing can cause a pregnancy to change courses. And we talked here in great detail about the Georgia woman who state officials, I would assume, doctors, hospital personnel, kept on life support, even though she was technically brain dead in February. Because of Georgia's abortion laws, the doctors, the hospital staff informed the family that they could not remove her from life support, and to add insult to injury, that they will then be responsible for the fees that were going to accrue as it relates to her staying on the machine as an incubator to further carry the baby, who at the time, I believe she was about 6 weeks pregnant at the time when she went to the hospital complaining of a severe headache. And, we're often not seen as believable when it comes to our pain when we go to these facilities and we complain of pain. And so she was about 6 weeks pregnant. She was complaining of head pain, severe head pain. She went to the hospital. They sent her home. Sent her home. I guess they, in their opinion, she was okay, sent her home. She became unresponsive and had been on life support thereafter. And her baby, as of yesterday, was delivered by C-section, less than 2 pounds. Baby's in NICU now, And they're planning now to take her off life support today. Now, this is this is that pro-life crowd that I need to have a conversation with, a question with. Are you truly pro-life, or are you pro-birth? Are you pro-force a woman to do what you want her to do because you don't like her choice? Because in this case, this woman couldn't even make a choice. And then when the choice was then transferred to her family, they couldn't make a choice because the law, these abortion laws that are created predominantly by white wealthy men who dictate what happens with our bodies, apparently in Georgia. Now the baby is fighting for its life because it was born extremely premature to a mother who was technically dead, being held on a machine to force a birth. This is the government that we're living in. And so I really need to know, where are we going? Like, how is this even possible in the United States of America that a woman first failed by a system that she worked for, because she was also a nurse. She was a nurse working for a system, with a duty to care and to first do no harm, and all of the things that she had gone to school to ensure that she was qualified and experienced to do her job effectively. She did all of those things and wanted to grow her family. She has a 7-year-old son, wanted to grow her family, became pregnant, ran into an issue with severe head pain when she was 6 weeks pregnant. A nurse who probably just knew with all confidence when she went to the hospital that they would pinpoint what was going on. They would help her, sort it all out, and she would be fine. And then to be sent home to never wake up, unresponsive since February. And as of yesterday, her baby was removed by emergency C-section, less than 2 pounds. And now today they are planning to remove her from life support. So what's the difference? If you're pro-life, the mother had no life. So who gets to determine how she continues on in this realm, if not her mother, if not her family? Listen, I'm often floored about the things that happens in this country, and it's very scary. But my thoughts and prayers are with our thoughts and prayers. Everybody here at WBOK, our thoughts and prayers, hopefully, are with that family, particularly her mother, because in the article, the mom also said she wasn't supposed to bury her child. Her child was supposed to bury her. And now she's left to care for her daughter's children, one of which is going to have a very long, very, very long, arduous journey to healthy. The baby's less than 2 pounds. So, I pray for all mothers who run into any complications with their children, because as a parent, I think that's the sum of our worst fears, is to have to fight for your child and not be able to save them, not be able to speak for them, not be able to protect them. That's a daunting feeling. And I wish that on no parent, mothers and fathers included, grandmothers included, aunts and uncles included, community included. Nobody should have to suffer through that. And there's also been an update, slight update. I know that there was a body found in the Mississippi, and the family, the Selders family, was hoping that it would be Jamisha. Remember, we talked about that story here as well. She went out with a group of friends and somehow ended up in the waters of the Mississippi. The friends were saying that she jumped, they started deactivating their social medias, which made the mom feel, a bit. It was questionable to the mom, to say the least. But the friends did say that she jumped in the water. And so now it is being reported that the Selders family reviewed the surveillance video with detectives and confirmed that Jamisha was alone when she entered the water. Now, that's how the article wrote it up, entered the water. I don't know if they could not say that she jumped in the water. They're simply saying when she entered the water, she wasn't with anybody, which helps the mom dispel the questions about her daughter being pushed into the water, because that was also an allegation out there that she could have possibly been pushed into the water. So at least now the mom has some sort of solace in knowing that the folk who Jamisha called her friends did not assist her in getting into the water. But I have not heard any definitive updates as it relates to the body that was pulled from the Mississippi. I do remember reading that the body had several tattoo markings that will hopefully help identify the young woman whose body was pulled from the water. But I did not read nor hear that those tattoos, those remains are synonymous with Jamisha Selders, who is still currently, as of this moment, as far as I know, still missing. So again, we hope and pray that the mom and the family finds some sort of closure as it relates to recovering their baby's remains. But it is being reported that the mother, with her own eyes, viewed the surveillance video accompanied by detectives, and they're reporting that when she entered the water, Jamisha Selders, that she was alone. So listen, my tone is always a bit different when I'm talking about death and mothers and fathers losing their children, because I just don't even want to imagine. It's not even a thought that I would allow to come into my head, because it's just it's far too much. And so I pray that any parent who has gone through the loss of a child, I hope you have a therapist. I hope you are close to your pastor, somebody that could afford you counsel in terms of grief, because that is something that no parent should have to experience. The circle of life dictates that you do not leave this earth before your children. You bring them into this world and they help you properly exit this world. That is just how it should be. They should help lay you to rest. It should not be the other way around. And so, again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Selders family as they continue to search for Jamisha, because we still do not know as of this moment. They have not recovered her body. And I know it's very, very hard for parents to just give up hope that their baby is alive. But water, as we know, is so deadly, so deadly. Especially when you go into water not knowing what lies beneath, where the drop-off points are. You could be in the water 1 minute in one area, and those currents pull you very swiftly into another part of the water. So my hope is that they will find this baby pretty soon, and the mom can have some modicum of closure. So my same sentiment for the family in Georgia is my same sentiment here for the family here in New Orleans. I hope you find some solace. I hope you find the support that is going to be needed to get through this difficult time. We have to go to break, but when we come back, we'll hear from Chief Joshua Rondino and Roy Karuba, board president of the New Orleans East Levee District. We're going to talk flood protection workforce right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. Happening today, the Orleans Parish Jail employee accused of helping the 10 inmates escape is scheduled to be in court today. Sterling Williams is accused of turning off the water so the inmates could remove a toilet to escape through a cell. But according to his attorney, Williams was following orders from a deputy who told him to turn off the water to prevent the toilet from overflowing. Williams is charged with principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. He is expected in court today for 3 o'clock. Now, this court hearing comes as we have officially hit the 1-month mark of the search for the 2 remaining inmates on the run, Antoine Massey and Derek Groves. Now, remember, there's a $50,000 reward per inmate for any information that leads to the arrest of Antoine Massey or Derek Groves. If you know anything, call Crime Stoppers. You know the number, 504-822-1111. You can also remain anonymous. This morning, a manhunt is underway for the suspects responsible for back-to-back shootings in New Orleans, one in which a boy was shot and killed. New Orleans police say a boy was shot near St. Maurice in North Prieur while walking from a store. Neighbors say they heard teens arguing just moments before the shooting happened and believe those teens were in the area for a party. Not even 30 minutes before this shooting, police say a man was shot and killed in the Bienville near North Galvez. If you know anything about either shooting, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great day.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat, brought to you by Lowe's.com. Code with Clossie is a nonprofit organization launched to help young women and non-binary teens break into coding. But as artificial intelligence advances, it could defeat the purpose of a coding boot camp like Code with Clossie. Osiami Okparia is CEO of Code with Clossie, and she told Bloomberg at a recent event that her initiative doesn't see itself as just teaching people how to code.
We're actually thinking more broadly than actually time spent hands on keyboard producing code. There is a lot that you can learn from a set of skills that are durable and transferable when you learn to code. You're learning computational thinking. You're learning a way of solving problems, decomposing them. These are all skills that we believe are transferable to problem solving in any domain.
Code with Clossie is helping young women from all backgrounds get into fields where diversity is lacking. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies the same item. Current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at Lowe's.com/lowest price guarantee.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
We are back. Wake up if you're still asleep. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders, for holding it all together for us this morning. And right now, we're getting ready to talk flood protection and workforce with Chief Joshua Rendino and Roy Karuba, board president of the New Orleans East Levee District. Good morning, Chief. Good morning, Roy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Listen, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. So I guess we can start with a conversation we were just having off air as it relates to, are we prepared? Should we face anything on par with the Hurricane Katrina? How do we feel about where we stand 20 years after?
We've never been better prepared to perform for hurricane season. We've taken the lessons that we've learned over the past 20 years to fortify and build in redundancy within the system and within our workforce. It's very important to build a strong and engaged team, and that is exactly what we've done. Governor Landry cleared a runway for us to perform, and we have over-delivered. And I don't want to overspeak, but I am truly committed, Roy and I, to continuing to build and fortify our team and the system.
I appreciate that, Chief. And Roy, as the board president of the Levee District, do you echo the sentiments of our chief? We're ready for whatever comes our way during hurricane season.
Not only do I echo his sentiments, but I want to add something. The governor put me on this board for 3 reasons: to make sure nobody floods, to make sure that our police force was restored to its full capacity, which Chief has done an incredible job of doing, and to make sure this agency spends public money properly. So the first one is obviously the most urgent and the most important. When the governor put me there on November 1st, we had a system that was broken from the standpoint of how our people were being treated. The people that have to go out and close these gates during an event. We have 246 gates and Chief, 101 valves that have to be closed to protect our citizens. And the men and women that had to close those gates in an emergency situation were not being treated properly. The chief and I, but it's 90% the chief and 10% me just backing him up and giving him, through the governor's office, the runway to do this, have rectified those problems with our personnel. And they are now better paid, better trained, and better motivated to do this mission critical job. So yes, I echo those sentiments and wanted to punctuate it with the fact that we have made probably 15 years of changes in this agency in 7 or 8 months to the betterment of all the citizens of East Jefferson, St. Bernard, and Orleans.
Well, speaking to the personnel and this critical work that they do, Chief, can you talk to us about what are the key responsibilities of the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority, and how does the New Orleans East Levee District fit into that mission?
So we maintain the system overall for 3 parishes. A lot of that is maintenance, ongoing maintenance. So exercising the gates, checking the valves, gears, flood walls, and it's 192 miles worth of floodgates and flood walls and 3,500 acres worth of earthen levees. So that responsibility is tremendous for our about 90 or so employees. That ongoing maintenance is important, but it's even more important to engage the workforce. So we found, like Roy said, a workforce that was fragmented, broken, and not motivated because they were underpaid. So we utilized Louisiana State Civil Service rules to give them ongoing training. We've partnered with Delgado's Workforce Development and Nunez Community College. We offer classes on site so that in 12 weeks our employees can get certificates that afford them the ability to get some pay improvement. So by intentionally and deliberately forging these partnerships, we've invested in our workforce, and now they are more engaged and better prepared to serve. So while exercising those gates and valves and having certifications in electrical, we do hydraulics, HVAC, and then with United Rentals, we have some training programs for man lift, forklift, front loader, crane operators, et cetera. We've given them the tools they need to better perform. So a better engaged workforce, a better paid workforce, is a more involved workforce that has genuine care and comfort for the system.
And before we go back to our board president here, can you walk us through how the flood protection system works in New Orleans East? What are its main components, and how do they function together during storm events?
That is a great question. So of the 192 miles worth of levees, we have 8 complex structures, 3 pump stations, Orleans Avenue, London Avenue, and the 17th Street Canal. Those are outfall canals. So Sewage and Water Board sends rainwater to us in those outfall canals, and then we close those floodgates and pump that water out of the city into Lake Pontchartrain and keep it on the other side. So we could have 26 feet worth of water outside of the system and be dry on the inside. Our pumps, with the partnership that we've, and I say this all the time, partnerships are important, but collaboration is multiplication. We work with the Corps of Engineers to retool the 17 pumps that we're responsible for in those stations so that they function today as if they were brand new on today's standards. And we have the ability to pump out, and Roy's going to help me with this, 53,000 cubic feet per second, which is equivalent to how many gallons in swimming pools?
Okay, that's about 2,800 swimming pools a minute that we fill up with those pumps. And we can fill up the Superdome in 90 minutes. That's how much water we're moving out of the city with those pumps.
Wow.
And look, while we're talking about these pumps, I want to take a minute to thank the Corps of Engineers, especially Jeff Williams, for his involvement.
He was just here.
I know he's a great guy, and I'm so grateful to him as an engineer.
Yes.
I'm grateful for all of his expertise, but not his expertise, his leadership, along with Colonel Jones and his team, to make sure that all these pumps were fixed before hurricane season. Before the chief and I got here, those pumps were not going to be fixed before hurricane season. The governor looked me in the eye and said, "We need these pumps fixed."
So you seem like a man that go get the results. I appreciate the governor for appointing you to make certain that we're safe. But how does the work of the Army Corps of Engineers and the work that you do at the Levee District help the residents who see when it rains in their communities, either one of you guys, when it rains in their communities, right, and then the water is sitting water and it's rising, what happens there?
So let me give it to you this way. To the chief's point earlier, the lessons learned with Katrina, the Corps built us some amazing structures to fortify the city. The chief talked about these complex structures. Those are gates that actually close canals, if you can believe it. It shuts off a canal so the water can't get in.
Right.
We have this barrier out in Lake Bourne that's this big structure that holds the water back. We have all these structures that the Corps built for us, the pumps. So what happens, it's now one of the largest flood protection systems in the world. I think it might even be the largest. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. So the Corps provided that to us. It is our job to operate and manage them. So as it relates to our citizens, the way the Corps is involved is they designed and built all this stuff, and they gave it to us. It is our job to run it and manage it. And that is what actually protects our citizens, is our agency, the people that we just described to you that have a better work environment. That is the heart and soul of what we do. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. It's the people that make this thing go.
Yeah.
And these people are very much better off than they were before we got put here.
And I appreciate that, but my question stands, Chief, right?
Sure.
Because we saw some heavy rains recently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were some videos circulating all across social media in certain communities where the water was extremely high in terms of a city streets.
So to answer your question, we are primarily responsible for keeping storm surge out of the city.
Got you.
And pumping the outfall canals down when the water gets to us. So rainwater is the responsibility of Sewage and Water Board.
That's what I want to ask.
They have to get the water to us in order for us to pump it out.
And I'm sorry I didn't answer that properly. I had my mind set on the agency.
But the fact that you guys are here, we can bounce off of each other, because as a layperson, right, as a citizen, we don't know whose responsibility it is. All we know is there's 6 feet of water, 7 feet of water in front of our home. We're trapped. We can't get out. So that Sewage and Water Board.
Rainwater is the responsibility of Sewage and Water Board. They have to pump it into the outfall canals. And then we pump down the outfall canals into Lake Pontchartrain and close those gates.
Got you. So here's a question specifically for you, Chief. As a chief of police for the Levee District, can you tell us about the role of law enforcement in larger flood protection missions?
So that's a great question as well. Our responsibility in law enforcement and overlaying it in flood protection is just that, to make sure that the system is secure at all times, and then to maintain the neighborhoods adjacent to the flood protection system. So all the way through New Orleans, from West End to Seabrook and beyond, out to Little Woods, we patrol and back up NOPD. We work closely with the Louisiana State Police Troop NOLA to help provide public safety. Public safety is important. 90% of the time that we're working and inspecting levees and helping our crew to perform maintenance, we're able to have a dual role and engage the public where they are, and to just provide community outreach, community policing initiatives, and just a better community relationship with law enforcement to have a safer environment overall.
Absolutely.
Can I interject something?
Sure.
The chief's not giving himself enough credit.
Well, he never does.
I know.
He never does, but we celebrate him here.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you about the chief.
Please.
Okay. Lakeshore Drive is one of our greatest assets in the city, but people enjoy the lakefront. For Easter and Mother's Day, the chief put together a comprehensive safety plan with State Police, Orleans New Orleans Police, Wildlife and Fisheries. There were a bunch of people. And he made that environment safe and kept all the bad eggs off the lakefront so that the community could celebrate and enjoy that day. He did it on Easter and he did it on Mother's Day. And that needs to be really punctuated, because not only has he made our neighborhood safer, but he took this beautiful asset, which is Lakeshore Drive, and made it safe for everyone. And that is just a microcosm of the work that the chief has done since he was appointed last July to keep our citizens in these neighborhoods safe.
Well, Roy, you brought up a point that I didn't intend to talk about, but when Roy brought it up, I'm going to ask. As it relates to those events specifically, right?
Sure.
There was conversation right here on the station about, because we all want bad eggs to stay out of community and stay out of the way of messing up the experience for all of us. In doing the work of keeping the bad eggs out, do you feel like there was a certain demographic of people in our city who were barred from enjoying Lakeshore Drive as well on those two events, for those two events particularly?
I would not say barred, and I wouldn't word it that way, but I will tell you that the folks that don't have insurance, the folks that have windshield tint, the folks that intended to ride dirt bikes through the grass and through the family areas, the folks that drive vehicles with no license plate and do donuts and burnouts and shut down the roadways, they are not welcome. They're never welcome. Public safety is primary, and we want to create an environment, and we have created an environment that is safe for children and elders alike to come out and enjoy themselves. We are very intentional and deliberate about taking back our community and making it, look, we put out over 100 signs to direct traffic. We've painted curbs along 5 miles worth of roadways and parking bays. We've restored the restroom facilities. We intentionally cut the grass twice as much as we should when we know we have those events coming up. It is a welcoming environment for the community. And yes, I got a lot of pushback, but the idea is I don't care. The folks that are going to come out and deviate from the rules that are in place, we don't want them there. We want them to go somewhere else and allow our families to come out and enjoy themselves. This is our primary mission, and the responsibility is a great one, and I take it very seriously. So we will continue to elevate that standard as we move forward.
No, I appreciate that, Chief. And here's the thing. I appreciate dialogue, right? The pushback that folk were calling here with was not the fact that you were doing that, because they want that to be done. The pushback was that it was only being done on one side of the lake, as opposed to
that is not true.
I'm just sharing
that
the
is not
experience,
true.
right? So that's why you're here, to be able to clarify that, because the reporting we were getting here is that it wasn't taking place on a different side of the lake. All of the pressure was on one side, where the predominantly black community would congregate and enjoy.
That could not
lake.
be further from the truth. We've stretched from
Absolutely.
West End to Seabrook, and we have a vast. The community there, we have over 400 approximately folks who swim under the Seabrook Bridge. We're still working on the infrastructure there to build in restroom facilities and hand washing facilities. Our responsibility stretches in that particular public thoroughfare for the entirety of the 5 miles, and we have maintained a presence there for the entirety of the 5 miles.
Thank you so much for the clarification. And it seems like you were aware of the pushback that I'm speaking of, because you even touched on it. So as always, every time I talk to you, I feel like the answers and the insight is always there. You don't shy away from the more difficult questions. So I appreciate that. And Roy, as the board president, how would you describe the role of the Board of Commissioners in governing the Flood Protection Authority? What checks and balances are in place to ensure proper oversight and accountability?
That's a big question.
Big.
Considering the fact that 4 of them resigned a few months ago, and we're undergoing a whole bunch of changes at the agency.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just get to it.
Let's go.
In September of 2022, there was a legislative audit that identified systemic discrimination and racism in this agency. Okay? Kind of what we talked about before with these men and women that didn't get pay raises and had to go out and do these jobs.
Right.
That board that I inherited did nothing to address it. Nothing. So when I was made president on November 1st, first thing I did was I appointed Chief Rondino to be what's called the appointing authority for all matters concerning civil service, and we started looking into it. So I don't remember your question because it was long.
No, it's okay. It was about oversight and accountability. I think you're going there.
Let's talk about accountability.
Yes.
A board's job is to oversee the workings of the agency, keeping the agency's best interest as its fiduciary duty, right? It's a big word for make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go, make sure the people go where they're supposed to go. Well, the board that I inherited did nothing. So after Chief was made the appointing authority, he single-handedly, with our staff, started correcting these issues of racism and discrimination.
Okay.
For his efforts, on February 20th, 2025, at a board meeting, my board stripped him of that authority. So I called the Attorney General.
So the board you had been appointed to govern stripped the chief
of
his
his
authority.
appointing authority to
Okay.
handle these civil service matters.
Okay.
So I thought the Attorney General needed to get involved and look into this. And magically, when the Attorney General started getting involved, 4 of them quit. Now, they'll tell you they quit because morale was low and we lost our focus on flood protection. However, when you look at the progression of all this, it is painfully obvious that they were under a microscope for their lack of accountability and lack of protection of the people of this agency that have to do this mission critical job. So, one more thing.
Go ahead.
It's getting corrected, and we're going to get some new board members next month. And my prayer is we get board members that come on board that actually want to be accountable to the agency and do the mission of flood protection, because it is essential for the operation of the agency to have proper oversight. And if I had more time, I'd tell you all the other things these board members were doing.
Here's the thing, and you could always come back.
Oh, I want to come back.
We want to be informed here.
Yeah.
As I asked the chief, I bring the questions that we folk engage us, whether through the chat, whether through phone calls. They ask these questions, and oftentimes we don't get to have him accessible when the question is asked, but it's in my brain. So I asked as soon as you jogged it for my memory when you mentioned it.
He and I are the same person. So
Okay.
when you ask him, you ask me.
Okay, so look, we have a caller on line 1. Good morning, James. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Chief Joshua Rendino and Board President Roy Karuba.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hats off to y'all for changing the culture and addressing the deterioration of your department. I have friends and associates that have suffered under that previous regime, and I think that you guys are turning the culture around. Now, I call BS on what you just said about the lakefront. I find it, I'd love to have the numbers on how many arrests or what y'all actually, did to seize traffic on the lake during those major holidays that we typically celebrate one another on. All that other stuff you was talking about, ATVs and all that stuff. As long as I've been in New Orleans, there's never been that type of recklessness on the lakefront. Burnouts and all that stuff during the holiday, it's understood it's a family holiday. There's never been that type. The only thing you got to complain about in this city is how we might be a little unkempt after an event such as Mother's Day and Easter. I'm going to hang up and listen. I think I call BS to that, but I'm going to speak truth to power. All y'all did was reduce with the threat of persecution for having tent and no proper licensing for your vehicle or what have you. All y'all do is reduce the footprint. So, I think that's targeted in my opinion. But I'm gonna hang up and listen to your opinion. But I also want to highlight. I do understand that y'all have changed the culture in the department. And I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, James. I appreciate you. And I want you to be able to respond to that. Can we take a break and you
Sure,
respond
absolutely.
to James on the other side? Listen, the conversation is one that has to be had. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll allow the chief and our board president of the Levy District to answer that question right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Hot and muggy with a chance for storms. Our summertime pattern continues with partly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms arriving as we get hotter throughout the day. Heaviest rain likely mid-afternoon. Localized flooding is possible. Highs rise to the upper 80s and low 90s, feeling like the upper 90s and low 100s. More 90s this week with daily afternoon storms possible. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Accrue NOLA invites you to join their community network in celebration honoring Juneteenth and Pride Month. On Thursday, June 19th, diverse professionals will gather for FET by Accrue, an evening of authentic connection and collaboration from 5 to 8 p.m. at the lab on Ursulines Avenue. This safe, inclusive space brings together innovators across the greater New Orleans area and the Gulf South for meaningful conversations that advances your business and professional career. Accrue creates pathways for sustainable growth through genuine community. So for driven networking like this, learn more at accruenola.com/RSVP.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Hey, it's Matt, your Leaf Filter Trusted Pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Naren Sanders. And if you're just joining the conversation, we're having a good one with Chief Joshua Rendino and President Roy Karuba of the Levee District. And prior to the break, James called in. And James applauded you guys for the direction that the agency is going, the culture shift that is happening under your leadership, as well as yours, Mr. President. And but to the point of how are we policing the Lakeshore Drive when events such as Mother's Day, Easter are happening? He's pushing back on your assertion that you're governing and policing it equitably across the board. What do you say to that?
We publicize the operations order. That again. Folks like to post things for likes, but the facts are what they are. We publicize, and it's still readily available, the operations plan that gave you the location where the officers were working. Again, we are overlaying public safety like never before. Change can be difficult. Mm-hmm. I understand that, but we're creating a safer environment, and there is no one being targeted. I'm a product of New Orleans, born and raised here. I grew up in Pontchartrain Park. And if you have questions, come meet me on Lakeshore Drive. Come meet me at Shelter One any Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'd be glad to talk to you and work it out. And if you have difficulty while you're on Lakeshore Drive, call me, 504-283-9800.
And I appreciate that because you know what I'm going to do, Chief? I'm going to come out there on a Sunday.
2 o'clock at Shelter One.
I just want to be able to just see what people are experiencing because I do appreciate the lake. I go get my crawfish. Everybody know how I feel about crawfish. I give me a little shelter, get my crawfish, have my citronella candle, and I'm out there. I enjoyed that experience, and I want everybody else to enjoy it as well.
The trash problem that James mentioned, we addressed by increasing our trash pickup and having a third-party trash company come out throughout the day and pick up additional cans. So it was not that, it's too much trash. We don't want folks out there. But listen, a lot of trash means a successful event. We dealt with the trash by scheduling additional pickups and putting out additional receptacles and pressure washing those areas on a daily basis so that the folks on Saturday didn't have to deal with the trash problems of the folks out there on Friday. So trash is no longer an issue. We have several partnerships that we put out and deliberately with a plan. Everything begins with a plan, and execution of that plan is to make sure that we maintain the infrastructure like never before. There was no plan before. Truth be told, we put all this together because of my 24 years of experience dealing with public safety. And this is a community policing event. Mm-hmm. We engage the public, we engage the kids, We engage the elders. We make sure that everybody out there understands what's going on. And I stand out there myself. Meet me at Shelter One, and we can discuss it. I'm glad to print out additional copies of our safety plan for major events and hand them out to the members of the public. They deserve to know because Lakeshore Drive belongs to the community, and we are aggressively taking it back.
And I appreciate that. And, a lot of our listening audience engage in our chat, and we pull their
Sure.
commentary when they can't necessarily make the phone call
Sure.
in. There are some comments about, as it related to James's point, and one of the comments says there has been an appearance of discrimination on the lakefront for decades, and we mentioned discrimination as it relates to personnel and the board. But do you feel like there's discrimination in the way that you guys do business inside of the community when you interface with citizens?
Not at all. But, the crime stats speak for themselves. We made, I think, 2 arrests over the Easter and Mother's Day holiday. One was for a DUI or DWI driver who was going 60 miles an hour against traffic.
Against traffic?
Against traffic.
Was he trying to die?
Well, he was
Or kill
intoxicated,
somebody, or he was
almost
drunk?
triple the legal limit for
Oh, wow.
alcohol in their system. But that was amongst the crowd that was there to celebrate, driving against traffic, nearly 60 miles an hour. Don't quote me on that. And then there was a fight. So in all that we provided with the infrastructure, there was a family event and 2 individuals who began a fight, and it turned into a brawl, and we made an arrest there as well. So the problems we've managed to mitigate, but, we are present in the community making a positive change. And again, anyone who has questions, issues, et cetera, we're not out there for likes. We don't push this out on social media. We're there making a difference. I challenge anyone with any issues, come and meet me outside of Shelter One any Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'm glad to discuss a safety plan with you.
Appreciate that, Chief. And one of the safety precautions you were doing were checks for tent. One of the commenters in the chat is saying, are your checks going to align with this new this new bill that is being passed, which lowers the tent percentage?
We are law enforcement. Our concern is windshield tint. When front windshield tint blacked out, when police can't see into a vehicle, that is a public safety issue. When you're at a red light or you're at a stop sign and the person next to you has windshield tint, that causes folks to feel unsafe. If you don't know what's going on inside that vehicle, is a problem. So we are very deliberate about enforcing the laws. Whatever the laws are that change in every session, we brief our officers. We have an ongoing training program that updates them real time with the changes in the law, and we enforce the current active laws.
Thank you so much, Chief. And this one is for you, Mr. Board President. The question
Don't call me
is,
Mr.
I'm sorry, Roy.
Yeah.
Thank you
Only
so much.
People I don't like call me Mr. And if I really don't like you, it's Mr. President.
So you like me a little bit, huh, Roy? I appreciate that. Thank you, Roy. It says, are you planning, in your role as the Board President, are you planning to look at professional services contracts to ensure DBE and SDBE firms get to participate?
So we're going to do what's right, and we're going to hire the best firms to do the best job for the agency. If we get a mandate to do DBE, I'll do whatever is the right thing to do. I want to make sure that the agency operates with the highest level of integrity and honor. And to that point, I think my history with the agency is very short, but I believe it's very obvious that we've rectified some pretty bad behavior, and it has been under the context of being discriminated with people with color. Yeah. And I'm very proud of that, because we don't have enough time to go into how bad it was.
You'll be back.
I'm coming back because I want to do the right thing for everybody. I want to make sure that, first and foremost, the people in the agency, whether they're professional services coming out from the outside coming in or inside the agency, are all doing the right thing to make sure we're all protected.
Well, what I will say is the Chief has been here before, and we appreciate you and the work that you do. But since Roy is new here, we're going to give him this final question. So looking forward, Roy, what is the board's long-term vision for ensuring the sustainability of the system? And what are you doing today to build a stronger, more efficient agency for tomorrow?
That's a great question. 2 questions. Our long-term vision is to make sure that we put systems in place where none of this nonsense can happen again. When the chief and I are gone, we want to make sure that we put a system in place so that the best people are put in the agency to do the best job to make sure that everyone is protected. Now, that's the people part of this. So My job is to make sure that that gets done, because my real job is to make sure we go to Washington and get the money we need to continue to elevate these levees and rebuild and elevate the floodgates. So I have a dual purpose here. But before I can focus my attention on that 50-year plan to get the levees raised, the Corps of Engineers started that design work because everything in New Orleans sinks. So we got to keep raising it. So first and foremost, we're putting a system in place as we speak about the work that the chief has done to rectify these civil service atrocities, is what I'm going to call them. Once that's done, then we're going to hopefully get a new board that actually is focused on flood protection. And then once that's done, then the agency can run the way it was always designed to run. And then I can focus more on the vision, looking long-term to make sure we're all protected in decades to come.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing. And again, I'll echo that same thing. But what I do want you to promise is to come back, because there's so many layers to this conversation that have not been touched.
We just
and we want to make certain that our folk are well informed about the work that you guys are doing. But Chief, can you tell us once again, where are you located? How can folk get in touch with you should they have any questions or concerns as it relates to your role with the agency?
The web address is floodauthority.org. Whether it be our careers page, we are always hiring, both law enforcement and the labor fields, professional fields as well. Floodauthority.org. I would encourage the public to schedule a tour of the system so they can become better educated as to what exactly it is that we do, and to get hands-on some of those pieces of equipment and structures to see in real time how they function. Again, Roy said it, our goal is long-term sustainability, both in the infrastructure of our workforce and in the system.
Well, thank you, Chief. And just tell us one more time, if I want to reach out to you, what's that number and where are you located on Sundays?
504-283-9800, Shelter 1 at 2 p.m. I'll see you there.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Roy.
And just one more thing. I want to thank the governor and Mr. Guidry, my advisor, for giving me this.
Shane.
Hey, Shane. I want listen, there's been a lot in the media about him and the governor. Let me tell you something. They both looked me in the eye and said, this is a mission critical thing that we're putting you in charge of, because we know you're going to do the right thing. And I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity. I especially want to thank Chief Rondino. He is a man of impeccable integrity and character, and he and I need each other to do this job, and he does a great job, and I'm very grateful for him.
Well, thank you so much. And look, I'll echo that sentiment. And let me tell you, I've extended the same invitation that I extended to you. I extended to Shane Guidry. I would love for him to come on and have conversations with us about what he has going on personally, but also because he's so close to the governor, he has insight that we don't necessarily have. Or if the governor himself wants to come to WBOK and have a conversation, because I keep the governor's name in my mouth. And I want him to know that this is not about attacking. This is about accountability and making certain that everybody feels like they have access to our leaders who have the answers that we're looking for. So should the governor or Shane or you want to come back, a seat here is always open for you.
I'm definitely coming back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you. Look, we have to go to break, but I want to thank Chief Joshua Rondino and Ron Karuba, Board President of the New Orleans East Levee District, for coming here, talking to us about flood protection and workforce. We always appreciate your service to this community. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you for having us.
Roy. We look forward to having you again. This is WBOK 1230 AM. We'll be back after the break.
We're bringing Shane.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to keeping and finding great teachers for our students in Orleans Parish. If you or someone you know is interested in becoming a teacher for the 25-26 school year, let us help you. We've created the New Orleans Teacher Job Board, which is the official job platform of public schools in New Orleans. You can apply to any school in the city. Simply post your resume and provide information about yourself. Visit our website to learn more and apply. www.neworleansteacherjobboard.org.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. Noise complaints, abandoned vehicles, and reckless scooter riding. The NYPD is cracking down on quality of life crimes. Black Mayor Eric Adams says a 2-month pilot program involving a new quality of life division is yielding results.
All of these items play into the feeling of being unsafe.
Black rapper Slim Thug is addressing backlash he's received for treating a woman badly who was sleeping in his garage. The rapper says the woman wasn't just some homeless lady, but a stalker. Video shows an interaction between the rapper and the woman where he tells her to stay away from him and get out. Rapper Drake picking a fight with a Canadian politician after seeing him at a Kendrick Lamar concert. Reports say Drake called the Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh a goof in a direct. The politician quickly apologized. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer with that good finger. He points and lets me know when I can start talking. Thank you, Nyrin. If you're just joining us, you missed a conversation with Chief Joshua Randino and Roy Karuba of the New Orleans East Levee District. And shout out to James. Listen, if there's one thing I love, Chief Kirkpatrick is a straight shooter. I like a straight shooter. Shout out to James and all of you who are engaging in the chat and those of you who text me your comments to share on air. I appreciate you. Look, there go my boy. I was like, wait a minute. You normally have two people with you. Where is he at? But right now we have the woman of the hour, New Orleans Police Department's Chief Ann Kirkpatrick. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Doc. Always a pleasure seeing you and talking to your
Always
audience.
A pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
right.
I know right now times are tough because we have this jailbreak that has happened. We still have two individuals who have not yet been apprehended. And I know you're working in partnership with Susan Hudson and all of these other governmental agencies to ensure that our city streets are safe.
Yeah.
But there has been a survey that was released. We had the guy on Mr. Cowan. He was talking about this survey where they surveyed 800 folk throughout the city, and the satisfaction rate with the role that you're in and the job you're doing. People seem, the folk who they spoke to seem to be pleased of the direction that NOPD is going in. How do you feel about that outcome or that survey?
Well, that's a direct credit to the men and women of the department and their day-to-day interactions with people and how well they serve them. I'm pleased with it. It obviously long ways to go to be the best of the best, but the fact that we're moving in that right direction is very satisfactory, and it is absolutely the day in, day out work of men and women who meet the public and serve them.
Yeah, absolutely. And when he was here, of course, you know, when folk talk data, I always want to be able to get into the numbers to understand how folk who live in communities that I come from, how they are experiencing the city of New Orleans, right? So, in your role as chief, it is my understanding that a lot of the trends in terms of crime are on a downward spiral. Do you want to talk about anything in particular as it relates to the drop in crime across different crime data points?
Yeah, so we do measure our certain data points, and we also we report our data crime numbers to the FBI every year, and that is how one city can compare to another city, and we get a feel throughout the country how is crime moving up and down in terms of trends. So New Orleans has just really been very exponential in the reduction of the crime, and it is not just because there is some national movement of going up and down, but because we have been very intentional in working a defined strategy. I like using like parables so you can get your head around it. But really, it's very much like having an orchestra or a football team or any kind of thing where you have to have actual play the music right. You can have the music on the shelf. You can have the right games in the book for the game, for the calling shots in football. But it's the execution of it. So that's what we are doing in New Orleans, is very, very defined strategies of how to intervene and prevent the crime to begin with.
And are we doing anything to improve community relations across the city of New Orleans? Because there is such a thing as community policing.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Is that a part of one of your strategies as the chief of police?
Yeah, because community's got to be involved in being partners with us. And these are words that seem overused and they can be trite, but they're not trite when they're actually applied. And so if you think about it, I'll give you a good measurement of how we know that the community is involved, is that I think it was around like 83 to 85% of the survey said that people would trust calling Crime Stoppers. That's huge. That's saying that community wants to be a partner, but they want to do it in a manner and in a strategic way where they can help, but also remain anonymous. So that's a great touchstone there.
Well, absolutely. And so for me, in your role, I always give you kudos because each and every time you come here, you always answer the questions that we want to know.
Yeah.
There was a report in the media as it related to the jailbreak, and one of the individuals in particular, Antoine Massey, and there were some reports that you, I guess, as a representative of NOPD, was offering him legal assistance if he agreed to turn himself in. Is that correct, or do you want to clarify some things there?
Sure, so let me clarify, add on to that. So Massey posted on Instagram, and that's how, everybody saw, or a lot of people saw it, right? Yeah. We saw it, I saw it. And he was making appeals along the lines of, surrendering, but he wanted help. He was calling out to different people. He wanted to be heard.
Yes.
His voice needs to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the concerns would be, obviously, wanted to make it known to him or whoever might be in conversation with him, but to directly speak to him to say, listen, I've already reached out to the public defender's office. The head public defender has given me assurance that if Massey will reach out to us and be willing to arrange a surrender, then through the public defender's office, they have an identified attorney who we could arrange to be present from the moment of surrender so that he could feel and know that he was going to have that security of an attorney right then and there at the moment of surrender. That was what my offer was. And I just, I'm a mediator. I've been an attorney, as you know, for 35 years. I'm in my 36th year. And I can understand how people want that sense of protection. And I just knew I could reach out and make some connections. So it's what I did. So, and the offer is still on the table. The offer's with Groves. We can at least provide you through the connections. All they have to do is make it known when and where. And I will then call the public defender back and say they're ready, and you can have your conversations with them from the get-go.
Look, I appreciate that. There was also some reports, and I wanted to talk to you about it and ask you. There are also some reports about the tactics that are being used in search of these young men. There's a news story from a young lady who is saying that she woke up to some hard knocking and realized that it was like a whole SWAT team of officers at her home, because apparently she's now residing in a home that was once occupied by some member of the Groves family.
Yeah.
What are we doing to ensure that regular civilians, people who have no connection to either of these folk who are still on the run, who have been captured already, who have no culpability in what is going on here, ensuring that they're safe? Because this is about, personally, that I know, the third person to come forward saying law enforcement is mishandling them in search of these individuals. What are we doing to protect the citizens on both ends from these individuals and from the over-policing of law enforcement?
Yeah. So let me also share with everyone that we are in partnership, and so my SWAT team may have been the agency knocking on the door. It might be LSP's SWAT team. It might be a lot of different SWAT teams. So we do want people, but we are in partnership. So, but this is the safeguard. Let me tell you what the safeguard is. Before any SWAT team, no matter whose agency it is, can do that, knock on the door and force an entry, the safeguard is that the matter had to be approved by a judge. So an independent arbitrator, the officers have to go before a judge, make the case to be able to have a search warrant to begin with on probable cause, not on a hunch or on someone just, calling and saying, I think she's here or there. A judge has to approve. You have to go before a judge, make your case. The judge is going to do the check and the balance. Was there probable cause? Is there probable cause? And then it's only after the signature of that judge that the SWAT team can go.
Well, maybe that's where the question should be posed, because it seems to me that somebody didn't do their due diligence because if this is a home that was once occupied by a member of Mr. Groves' family and they no longer live there, then to put the information before a judge, it ought to be accurate. So it seems like they may have said that this was still a home where a family member lived. The woman is saying that they had guns drawn in her face. There was another young woman who has young children. She said they knocked the door off the hinges and came into her apartment even after she gave them the key to enter. So for me, I just want to ensure that we're talking about public safety, right? We're making certain we're making the public aware that these two individuals are still at large. But who's going to keep us safe from rogue policing? And not saying that your agency is doing that,
and
because
I don't know
I
that
understand
it's rogue.
who you are as a leader.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I've always been a straight shooter. So I have to tell you, because I don't know the actual circumstances of the event you're speaking to, I can't tell you that it's rogue. I can tell you that the safeguards, if you will, are first and foremost that there has to be probable cause approved by a judge to even go there.
No, I appreciate that. And the
but
reason
then
I
as far as
labeled
the tactic of pushing a door down or whatever, I can't speak to that.
That's the reason I
team,
labeled it rogue, because if I'm offering you my key to enter, right, there was no need for that level of force, especially when you then find out that you're at the wrong place. There's no connection to these individuals. And so again, I'm saying that to say I wish all of the agencies had leadership like yours that puts the humanity of not only people who have been accused of something, some sort of wrongdoing, but the regular citizens who have to go about their day as you guys go about your work to try to recapture these individuals. That's what I'm saying. And so I wish, the folks had that level of humility in their work as well, because if I'm offering you the key, there's no reason to use that level of force. But I want to go back to the survey. I don't know if you've been made privy to it, but it was very positive about your agency. It was very positive about you. And what I will say is, more often than not, when folk call here and have any sort of conversations about NOPD, they give you a glowing review as in terms of your leadership.
It's very, very
and what I do like about you, when you open your mouth and you're talking about the crime drop, you always pay homage to your predecessor, which was our interim chief as well.
And all of them before.
Absolutely.
You
do that.
There are a lot of other chiefs and superintendents way before Ann Kirkpatrick. What I do, and all I did was maybe refine some foundations.
Yeah, you did it your way. You're the leader. You deserve to do it your way.
You cannot. I just think anyone, I have always said, I think I have a strong ego. I don't have a big ego. If I have a big ego, please pinch it out of me. There are also a lot of people not satisfied with me. Ain't everybody digging Ann Kirkpatrick? I get that. And it is very nice that as of today, there is a favorable sentiment. But, it's nice to be, so to speak, liked.
Yeah.
But in the end, I want to be respected. Now, that's what I want. And so there are people I've been around that I respect, but I don't necessarily like it.
Let's talk about it, Chief.
Right? I like you, but I don't respect you. And there are a lot of people that I have some respect for, but I don't really want to do more than have a cup of coffee with you. So, but in the end, it's
Chief,
the
where you
issue
from?
of respect.
Tell me where you from again.
No, I'm from Memphis.
You
girl.
sure you're not from uptown or the
I
corner
tell you,
uptown somewhere?
look, I understand human nature. I don't like me every day. So if it's all about trying to be liked, you're really missing the point,
you
right?
know, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? You're not going to please all of the people all of the
Well,
time.
no, and I have perspective about that, but I don't know. I'm not an actor. I've never acted in my life, but I do think it would be foolish to read your reviews every day.
Yeah.
I just don't think that, and trust me, I'm grateful. I know what it is to be liked, and I know what it is to be not liked.
Mm-hmm. So
and I
do
get
you
it.
yourself, as a leader of the New Orleans Police Department, do you yourself conduct surveys as it relates to how the community feels about your agency?
We don't, because we do. I mean, it's probably not a bad thing to always have a touch base through surveys or whatever to make sure we're meeting needs. That is important.
I think we should do that.
Yeah, it is an important thing. I think that because I am indeed relying on a tool that is done by the Crime Commission Coalition and the group of these people who came together, is very reliable. It's very valid. It's very legitimate. So sometimes, if I did the survey, people would go, well, you did the survey. How legitimate is that?
But it's internal for you. I think
right.
it's a temperature
Sure.
check for you, because there are agencies out there that are going to do the surveys and make
Yeah,
certain that the points they want to hit, they hit. But I'm talking about internally for you to ensure that the mission and the vision that you have set forth, that the community is feeling the realization of that mission and that vision.
No, it is important. And the answer to you is no, I haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
In my 2 years, but it is something that is a good tool, and it's
it's
just a
some
matter
information to inform the way we're moving
How
forward.
we're doing with that.
So I tell you all the time, it's so good to always have you here. So is there anything in particular that you want to touch on, whether it be to acknowledge the work of your agency, or
They're
to talk about
amazing.
any protocols, new protocols you're putting in place? Is there anything you want to talk specific to?
Yeah, I do. So, when I got here, I've always had just 3 goals, and every year they're somewhat the same, but with some refinement. So obviously the first goal was that reduction of crime. We're still heavy on that. And then was getting out of the consent decree or arriving. I don't really, here I even violated my own sense of saying getting out of. Actually, it's the arriving of the consent and saying, hey, we are constitutionally practicing. We're practicing constitutional policing. The third was recruiting. The survey also indicated, we have not even come close to hitting my mark of a minimum of 300 more officers. Now, so what I do want to have this opportunity to make a reach out to the community. We are recruiting. We've started some new marketing. So I hope when y'all are out there, look at the billboards. They're kind of cool. We're going to step up to the plate. It's very, very expensive to advertise on Indeed and some of these platforms, but we're going to step up to the plate and do it. I know that we can't always hire everybody who applies, and then people feel sour because they applied and they didn't get hired.
We don't want you to hire everybody that applies.
I know that, and you don't,
No,
and
we
I
do
don't,
not.
and I won't do it.
Mhm.
We raise standards. We don't lower standards. We're the A team. I'm not going to be fielding the C team. We're not doing that. But if you are interested, look. Go on joinnopd.org. Joinnopd.org. We are interested, and we particularly would like to make a call out to our African American community, our other communities that are minority representation. We want you to be a part. Actually, we do a good job in that our police department is majority minority department. And it should be, because it reflects the community, right?
Absolutely.
But we want anybody, no matter what you believe, no matter your politics, no matter your positions of life, we represent everybody. So I want everybody to apply. And you'll get a fair shake. You'll certainly get one from us and me. I'll give you a fair shake. Now, you have to be good.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a fit for policing.
Right.
Not everybody's a fit for New Orleans policing. you might be really good in another location, but not New Orleans. So
I'm glad
let
you
us take a look
understand
at
that. I'm glad you understand
New
that.
Orleans has to be New Orleans.
Yes.
And New Orleans has been so kind to embrace me because I knew I would love New Orleans. I thought I'd be a fit in New Orleans. But everybody's been really, really good to me, and I thank you for that.
Well, I thank you for being here. And I also want to
Thanks.
shout out and congratulate Deputy Chief Dupree on his retirement. I didn't know if you wanted to say something about him. We all love him.
I love Chief Dupree.
Yes,
Come home.
Yeah.
Come back. Chief Dupree, if you're listening, come on back.
Listen, shout out to the Deputy Chief on your retirement. We appreciate the work that you've always done on behalf of the community. And as always, Chief Kirkpatrick, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Doctor.
I need to see you more often because I feel like the last time I saw you was months and months and months ago. You can't be a stranger now. Come back and talk to us.
Home. This
Absolutely.
is home. Y'all are great. Thank you
for
Doctor,
being here. Look, we
always.
got to go to break, but when we come back, we'll talk about it as only we know how. And I hope you keep listening right here. WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. Happening today, the Orleans Parish Jail employee accused of helping the 10 inmates escape is scheduled to be in court today. Sterling Williams is accused of turning off the water so the inmates could remove a toilet to escape through a cell. But according to his attorney, Williams was following orders from a deputy who told him to turn off the water to prevent the toilet from overflowing. Williams is charged with principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. He is expected in court today for 3 o'clock. Now, this court hearing comes as we have officially hit the 1-month mark of the search for the 2 remaining inmates on the run, Antoine Massey and Derek Groves. Now, remember, there's a $50,000 reward per inmate for any information that leads to the arrest of Antoine Massey or Derek Groves. If you know anything, call Crime Stoppers. You know the number. 504-822-1111. You can also remain anonymous. This morning, a manhunt is underway for the suspects responsible for back-to-back shootings in New Orleans, one in which a boy was shot and killed. New Orleans police say a boy was shot near St. Maurice in North Prieur while walking from a store. Neighbors say they heard teens arguing just moments before the shooting happened and believe those teens were in the area for a party. Not even 30 minutes before this shooting, police say a man was shot and killed in the Bienville near North Galvez. If you know anything about either shooting, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
Do you know what United Way can do for you and your community? Find out by listening to United Way and You every Thursday at noon on WBOK 1230. United Way continues to fight for the most vulnerable members of the community. Find out how this Thursday and every Thursday at noon.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
back. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my finger point button pressing producer, Nyron Sanders, over there behind the glass, holding it down. I appreciate the listeners. I appreciate you guys engaging in the chat. And I appreciate NOPD Chief Ann Kirkpatrick for availing herself to us this morning. But y'all, I got a caller on the line. And if you know anything about him, like I know anything about him, that's my boo thing. Hey, Pop.
Hey, Dr. Wise.
How you doing? How you and the
Dr.
first lady
Wise,
doing?
look, man, I'm so proud of you. I tell you, I say, words cannot express.
Oh, thank you,
Al
Pop.
J. Girl from the Fisher Projects. God has really shown you favor.
Thank you so much.
I tell you, if you told me that you didn't have a degree in journalism, man, but I tell you, before I let you question me, especially if I was dealing with children, I think I'd have to have my lawyer with me. Plead the fifth or something. Because I've never, I watch TV a lot, but I've seen the local journalists, the journalists on MSNBC and all other. And man, I just don't know. When I hear you question, boy, you go to the rooter tooter. You don't. I tell you, I either have to have my lawyer with me or plead the fifth.
Listen, Pop,
I tell you, Dr.
I try
Wise.
to ask the questions that I know our listening audience wants to hear about, and I try to do so in a very and there's no gotcha moments here. Folk know very well what they're stepping into when they come into the studio to have a conversation with me, and I don't disrespect anybody. I try to be extremely professional, but I want to get the answers. That's it.
Well, Dr. Wise, where you get that talent from like that?
Let me tell you something, Pop. I thank God every day because I don't half the time. And I credit, like Miss Alicia thought I would be good at this, by the way. She's the one that was like, I think you should consider, going on the show. And I was like, I have never done anything, I guess, appear on the show all the time, but to actually be a host of it, I just didn't think that was in the cards for me. But I mean, God has a better plan, right? And I love it now. I actually love coming on the air in the morning. I love engaging with y'all. I love, what I'm doing. And so I think for me, it's about appreciating the opportunity and loving what you do. And I think your light tends to shine in those situations.
I don't think the president or some of those high officials would want you to question them.
Well, I want to question the president. I wish I could.
I think they would be in trouble.
I wish I could. I absolutely wish.
Lord,
here's the thing, Pop. Here's the thing. Even folk I don't necessarily agree with, if they want to come and have a conversation, we have a respectful discourse, a respectful dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's why I say if the governor wants to come, if the attorney general wants to come, I welcome them here because at the end of the day, this is an audience that they don't necessarily have access to in the mainstream media. And I think it's important to talk to all of your constituents. And so if they want to come on, I hold a seat for them.
Dr. Wise, you ever talk to General Honore?
I have not. I wish.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you
I
could set
see
that
him.
up.
He shows up, man. He show up all the time, man.
Yeah, I've not. I wish there are some people on my bucket list of people I would love to be in conversation with, and one of them is Nina Turner. Another one of them is Joy Reid. Like, these are people that I aspire
Lord.
to have a conversation with.
Oh boy, you got a long list.
Yes.
Yes,
I do. But I get
indeed.
to talk to you all the time, so that's a blessing too,
Well,
Pop.
God gonna give you that time.
I hope so.
You gonna get a chance
I
to
hope
question
so.
some of them.
You know I appreciate you, huh, Pop? And please get a first lady a hug for me.
All right, I will do that.
All right,
Thank
my
you
love.
very
Thank
much
you
for
so
taking
much.
my call.
Have a good one. Look, y'all, I cannot tell you how grateful I am. I think I'm in this this healing season of healing, like the things that I've always been kind of angry about as it relates to my professional life and my career. But God has a sense of humor, and I never saw this for myself, but it's here, and I love it. One of the owners, and he knows who he is, when we were talking about the job here, one of the things he said is, now, you got to get up early. And I was like, dude, I ran a school. I got up early every single morning. Don't underestimate my ability to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done now. And so I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate all of you for listening. And let me tell you something, like James and Pop and Larry and Miss Alicia, Treese, all of the Aaron, we call her Motherland, like all of the people, Don, all of the Miss Jones, all of the avid listeners and avid callers. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to keep my knife sharpened, because you don't know how you push my thinking and allow me the opportunity to share your questions on air that then lead to better questions for me and my brain. Because whether y'all know it or not, a lot of times the questions coming off the top of my head as the conversation is happening. And so I appreciate folk who are not defensive in their approach to the questions I'm asking, because I honestly, literally just want the answer. I'm not trying to undermine anybody. These are real questions that I think deserve real answers. And again, until the city of New Orleans as a whole, until the experiences of the people who make this city thrive, until those experiences are amplified, I'm going to continue to ask the questions that need to be answered. And so that's why I asked the question about the lake, because I know folk who look like me, who come from my community, were complaining about their experience with policing on one particular side of the lake. I didn't make that up. Folk were inboxing me. They were sending me pictures of the police and the things that they were doing on those days. And that's why when Roy brought it up, I said, well, that brings me to this point. And that's how the question formed in my brain. And so I appreciate y'all for participating in that conversation, because more often than not, people just need to know that you know. People need to know that you see. People need to know that you hear the things that they don't say. Right. And so then they'll come correct, because you don't get to just say things as if it is factual, but because nobody's pushing back on it, it lives like it's truthful when it's wrapped up in all sorts of disingenuous information. Right. And so for me, that is where I come in. I'm going to call it out if I see it. I'm going to call it out if I hear what you don't say. And the thing that separates me from quite a few people is I want you to do that for me. That is how I keep the line for myself. That is how I make certain that I check my thoughts and opinions. That is how I make certain that if I make a mistake, I can course correct, because folk who care about you want you to be accountable to the things that you say you're about. And I am extremely mission driven when it comes to the children of this city. And if you did not know that, now you know. Any conversation that centers children, any conversation where children are the topic, the foundation, the reason why the conversation is happening, I want to be in the room. I want to be in the room. So shout out to y'all for bringing me into the room via Zoom when I can't physically be in the room, but I want to be in the room. And I also want to let y'all know this. Y'all see me and listen to me on the air for 2 hours every day. But please understand that I'm working nonstop on behalf of children without a job title, because I don't have a job in the actual space that I'm credentialed for. But that does not stop me from showing up to ensure that children are protected, children are centered, and children are being treated equitably. It will never stop me from doing that, title or no title, right? And I want to say this to you. Please don't mistake Ashanta for Dr. Wyatt. I was Ashanta all my life. I've been Dr. Wyatt for about 10 years. Okay? So I want you to understand something. I could meet you wherever you at. Like whatever type of time you on, I could meet you there at 8:30. At 5 o'clock, I'm going to meet you at whatever time you on, that's the type of time I'm going to be on. But understand the thing that keeps me grounded is understanding that I fight for children and my kids need me to be healthy. They need me to be alive and they need me to be free. So that's really what spared a lot of y'all from meeting Ashanta. That's why I give y'all Dr. Wyatt. Because please make no mistake, behind these children, we could go there any day of the week. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Since we're talking about Dr. Wise, I just want to make this declaration because I put in a thing that you enjoy your job, especially for the Crawfish Kirks.
Yes.
But I just want to make this declaration because we were at a meeting. She was on Zoom and she heard about some pastries. And she spoke out on the Zoom, Miss Alicia, please get me some pastries. I might not be there, but get me some pastries. So, and I know she can eat. She can put it down. And I didn't know what she would have wanted. So they let me box up a whole box of pastries for her. And I just want to make sure that they know, and I want to declare that was not for me, that I wasn't being greedy, that I was boxing those pastries up for Dr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that, Miss Alicia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, have a good one. Look, y'all, I'm not ashamed of my appetite, Nyron. Do you hear me? So I'm telling y'all right now, if you desire to take me on a date, take me to the park and let me go walk with you or something. Like, take me to the gym. Let's go work out. Take me to a Pelicans game or something. But if you take me to a restaurant, don't be looking at me because I'm going to eat. Okay? But I do enjoy food. I am a foodie. I might not spend money on much. Keep my nails done. Keep my feet done. Keep my hair done because she that girl. But I spend the rest of my money on food and bills. I'm going to eat my money, Nyron. Let me tell you something, Nyron. Remember when did you go with us? No, when we had the tickets to Samara Joy to go to the jazz concert at the Orpheum. So I went to the jazz concert and we were getting ready we were looking for parking. And he was trying to go in the little garage for $30. I said, we're not about to park in there for no $30. We can hit this corner and park on the street. We gonna eat them $30 after this show is over. Don't play with me, baby. I got legs and they work. We can walk around that corner now, and I need. Why do I play so much? I think that's another thing too. Why I like the radio, because I think people have been able to see like my full personality, because everybody think I just walk around mad all the time, and I don't. I promise you, I have a healthy sense of humor. I love and enjoy relaxation, so I'm always home. People don't understand how much I love being indoors. I love being in my home. I love sitting in my living room with the remotes, clicking the TV, especially if I have some crawfish. Okay? Yeah, and a little wine cooler or something. Yeah, that's what I like. Very, very, very simple. Very simple. It's the small things in life, Pop, that I love. But no, I do enjoy being on the radio. I do enjoy getting better every day with what I do here. And I mean, that's credit to my super producer as well. He makes certain that I have all of the materials that I need to ensure that my interviews go smoothly. Nyron, I think you're very good at what you do, young man. I don't know if anybody ever told you that. And I think that when you learn how to, like, open yourself up, all the blessings gonna overflow. I don't even think you realize how good at what you do, how you are as good at what you do as you are. So thank you for helping me look good to these people who think I'm so great at interviewing people. But I'm excited though, y'all, because I'm gonna get an opportunity to do some stuff with Essence. So I'm excited about that. And I think that is a testament to just being able to pivot when life doesn't necessarily give you that which you think you've worked your entire life for. You have to pivot, and I'm learning how to pivot. I'm learning how to not take everything personal. I'm learning how to pick my battles. I'm learning that every fight is not mine. I'm learning how to put my knives down because not everybody even require knives. I'm learning how to take a little time to enjoy, just life. And I think that's credit to my son being home as well. Like I look at that young man and I understand my why. I want every child to have the opportunity at life the way my son had. My son's father's an engineer. I'm his mother. He had the opportunity to be raised very well on both sides. And he had opportunities, on both sides to do some extraordinary things. And this is what I want for everybody's child. Good morning, John. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, good morning. Boys. It's getting rare and rare. I can get the chance to talk to you. I know this may be how you doing, first of all?
What you say, John?
Oh? I'm saying it's rare I get a chance to talk to you nowadays. It's so busy. How you doing?
I haven't heard from you in a minute. What you say?
I know this may be a little bit off the subject, but
okay.
I'm going to tell you, this economy is getting really bad for people. I'm seeing more people asking for food, not even money. Also, it seems to be that the Orange Man has particularly targeted because I was at the Wingstop last night, and I saw a pretty young lady getting out the car, and she went to the back of the car. She came in, so for a while, I was humoring the baby and what have you. Then she had to pick up a order. It was like about 9 at night. I said, "You trying Uber with your baby? If you don't mind me." She said, "Yeah, I got to do it." And I'm like thinking to myself, like, wow, this is a young woman with a child, 9 o'clock at night, got to drive Uber, taking risks and stuff. It just kind of bothered me. You know what I'm saying, Doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Like no family support or nothing. So I said, just be careful. I encountered that situation about a week ago. Mm-hmm. Another older woman, she had her 2 sons. And they would ride with her for protection, which was a good idea because both of them boys were bigger than the average man. And the oldest one was 17. 15. I'm like, damn. But I'm like, then they said something like 340,000 black women have lost their jobs, and it seemed like it's particularly targeting at black women. So I know it may be off the subject. I don't know what the original subject was, but I just thought I'd throw that out there, and I'll listen. Take care and be blessed.
Thank you so much, John. Listen, we have to go to break, but I have a question for the WBOK listening audience, and we're going to talk some real stuff on the other side of the break, but I just wanted to cleanse y'all palate right now. And I really want y'all to engage in the chat with this question. I'm talking to all of y'all that's listening to me. I know y'all in the chat. Tell me this. When y'all can't hear something, did y'all see me squinting trying to hear John? Like, why am I squinting my eyes like that's going to help my ears work better? Why do we do that? Like, when we're trying to, drive in the car and we trying to, do something that requires our full attention, we turn the radio down. Y'all do that? Or is it just me? I don't know, but it's real spooky because it makes me feel like I'm getting older. And I'm like, why am I squinting my eyes to hear John when my eyes in my ear? I don't know, y'all. Help us sister out. Does that happen to any of y'all? Look, we got to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some state and national news. And, it's real conversation, so I hope y'all stay with me right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Partly cloudy skies today with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s, feeling like the mid to upper 90s at times. Scattered showers and storms arrive again for the afternoon. We could see strong winds and heavy rain. It all comes to an end tonight with lows in the 70s. More 90s this week with daily afternoon showers and storms continuing. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
On Auto Trends with JeffCars.com, here's a snippet of some of what we cover. GPS pioneer Gladys West.
We worked long hours computing trajectory orbits and satellite orbits, trying to get the data and everything correct enough.
Auto analyst Mark Bland.
14 new vehicle deals that happen in this country out of every 100 that women don't have a fingerprint on.
To tune in, check out Auto Trends with JeffCars.com, Saturdays at 4 p.m. on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month, we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. As an educator, listen, I'm going to always center conversations around education, and I don't know if you are watching and listening to the news, but I do so you don't have to. And the news is reporting, WLBT is reporting, as well as Biloxi's WLOX in Mississippi. They are reporting that the state of Mississippi is now ranked 16th in education. Yes, you heard me correctly, 16th. And that is by a national metric, and that metric is coming from Mississippi's Kid Count. The Kid Count data is data that looks at national qualifiers for rankings. And in 2024, Mississippi was ranked 30th in education in 2024 and 48th in education in 2014. They are now ranked number 16. And experts in the field are saying that Mississippi's rise in educational outcomes is due in part to their strong policies, their dedication to effective educators, and their push for literacy in early childhood education. It says the Kids Count data book analyzes how children are faring across the nation. It takes into account reading proficiency by 4th grade, math proficiency by 8th grade, and high school graduation rates. Over the past decade, the graduation rate in Mississippi has increased from 75% to 89%, which is higher than the national average. We are talking about the state of Mississippi, MISSI, that's the state we're talking about. That's traditionally below the state of Louisiana, historically, I should say. And now they stumping all over Louisiana because they understand the importance of effective educators. Hallelujah, right? They understand the importance of early childhood education. They're invested in literacy. And this data book, again, their rankings are comprised from reading proficiency by 4th grade, math proficiency by 8th grade, in high school graduation rates. Now, I'm bringing this up because I'm remembering Doug Harris's report as it relates to the state of education in the city of New Orleans and all of those nice, pretty graphs and data points that they were talking about in the document. And then I find out from a very reputable source that their data is data from 2014. Are we serious? And then in the document, you said this is a culmination of work over 10 years. So if the data is from 2014 and it's stratified across 10 years, are we talking about from the inception of the experiment to 2014? So we just going to ignore the last 10 years? That's what we going to do? I don't know, Doug, but I have questions, and I really, really hope that you're listening, or anybody affiliated with Tulane University that can get me access to Doug Harris or in any of his researchers. I want to have a conversation, researcher to researcher. Let's have a conversation, because I want to understand how this national database doesn't coincide with this data that we talking about in Louisiana, specifically to the city of New Orleans. I want to understand how Mississippi steadily made improvements. They were 30th in 2024 and 48th in 2014. And see, that looks like authentic growth, right? They didn't just jump from the bottom all the way to the top. Because even if you go take your ACT and you jump too far, then people are going to be questioning your growth. So why is it that nobody's questioning this amazing, mythical, magical growth that the state of Louisiana had per K. Brumley? Per Doug Harris? I just need answers. That's all. Why Mississippi over here really doing the thing the right way? Huh? With data points that we could question, that we could go and look at, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at it. I pulled it up. I looked at it. I'm looking at the graphs, right? All state reports, the majority of the fourth graders are struggling with reading. All states. The majority of the fourth graders are struggling with reading. But somehow, Mississippi done cracked the code. So let me give credit where credit is due right quick. Shout out to State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Lance Evans. Shout out to you, sir. I don't even know you. But I'm going to tilt my hat to you because I know the struggle of education in the state of Mississippi. I know what it's been historically. But I see you, and I'm going to tilt my hat to you from one educator to another. So maybe the eyes of New Orleans, the eyes of Louisiana ought to be on the state of Mississippi and asking Dr. Lance Evans, show me your recipe so we could add a little something extra to our root here in Louisiana and we could get our kids reading on grade level. Because we got all these graduations, but they can't read. We got all these graduations, but the crime rate is out of control. We have all these graduations and they don't even capitalize the I at the start of a sentence because they think they can write like they text because we're allowing that in our schools. Oh, but you remember when Louisiana just I'm talking about leapfrogged from the bottom to the top. And we don't have no data to see it. But when I look at national rankings, when I look at organizations that K. Brumley can't touch, and these charter folk can't touch, the math ain't mathing. Good morning, Elmore. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yes, ma'am. Always a pleasure to hear your comments.
Thank you.
Yeah. In reference to what you're saying, it always interests me when you look at the South and the states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, and very poor states. And they're very conservative, and they're mega as mega can be. But I find it so interesting that they are getting a lot of money from the federal government. So I always laugh when they cry about the federal government when they are benefiting tremendously. You have very look at California. California is a very wealthy state. I mean, it's very self-sufficient. I mean, California has the economy as big as some countries. So again, I always laugh when they look at conservative states. They look at states are very liberal in the way they're thinking with their government and with their politics, economics. It's so amazing how so far back Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas of the world, or in terms of being progressive, the way that you think and the way that I think, it's almost like, don't laugh till I see it, Dr. Wise. You think it was on the moon somewhere, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Elmore. I appreciate that. Keep listening,
It's not
all right?
funny. Look, don't laugh. It's not funny, but I mean, it kind of makes you think. You know,
got you.
What planet are they on? You know.
Yep. I got to close the show, but I hope you keep listening because I'm about to close it the right way, too. Thank you,
Yes,
Elmore.
ma'am. I sure will.
Appreciate
Thank you, ma'am.
Listen, I want to say this before I go because I'm really serious about this. I want y'all, and by y'all I mean me and you, us, this community, to really pay attention to the game that's being played right in front of your face. If Mississippi could do this from 2014 to now, they went from 48th to 16th by making an investment in early childhood and literacy and effective educators. It ain't rocket science. And I guarantee you, nobody in Mississippi, no school in Mississippi got six-figure salaries all up and down the C-suite while they paying their teachers crumbs. And all of these well-to-do C-suite people couldn't tell you how to spell pedagogy. This is ridiculous what is happening in this state. So let me tell you where Louisiana is per this same national ranking, right? National. And this is as of June 13, 2025. This is where our babies are. Louisiana is ranked 49th in overall child well-being, 50th in economic well-being, 35th in education, 49th in health, and 49th in family and community. As it relates to education, it said 51% of Louisiana's 3 and 4-year-olds were not in school in 2019 to 2023, a lower rate than the national average. Louisiana was the only state. They say, look, let me tell you what they say. The only state that improved, where 4th grade reading proficiency improved from 2019 to 2024, but we still number 35. Don't that sound like all that growth that they like to talk about here? Oh, we growing, but we ain't gonna never be proficient if we keep lying about the state of education in the city of New Orleans. I think there is something really sad going on here when you can see the growth that our neighbor state is making, and they're poorer, right? Less money, less resources, but they climbing the ladder of education. So once again, shout out to Dr. Evans over there in Mississippi. I might have to email you and personally ask you to come to Louisiana, come to New Orleans, and let these people shadow you to see what we need to do to improve educational outcomes for our children. So let's tilt our hat, Mississippi, to Mississippi. Shout out to y'all Sweet 16 ranking. And we down there in the 30s somewhere. Because we growing, I guess. But Doug Harris, I'm going to extend this invitation to you once again. Anytime you want to have this conversation about the reality of education in the city of New Orleans, I welcome you to the WBOK studio to have this conversation in full. And you could even prepare your own questions should you need to do that. But we're going to have a conversation because our parents and our children and our community deserve answers. Y'all stay tuned up next for the Front Porch with Grayling and Kimber. But as far as the Good Morning Show, Dr. Ashanta White, my super producer, Nyron Sanders, we going to see y'all tomorrow. This is WBOK 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.